up, New Orleans? Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass holding us down in studio. Today, co-hosting with me is none other than the pastor of the Sixth Baptist Church and Professor Asuno. Y'all know him. I know him. Hey, Tori.
How you doing? How you doing? Good morning, WBOK family. I miss you.
Listen, we miss you too. I was so excited to see you walk through the door this morning. And listen, it's Oliver's favorite day of the week. So shout out to Oliver O.T. Thomas.
Right.
Happy hump day.
That's right.
Oliver. But I'm excited to talk to Tori simply because of the topics we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
And as we all know in the news, at yesterday's school board meeting, it was decided what? Soren, what did they decide?
So they decided, the Dolores Taylor Arthur School, which has been in existence for really just a few years, about 3, 4, 5, maybe
Brand
5
new.
years, brand new school for boys.
Yes.
Which I love, that idea. But they're under an emergency suspension and now closure as of December 31st. And I know personally of a parent and a child who goes there and just got a letter a few days before the meet yesterday, officially notifying them of this. And there's another situation, but I guess I got to stay there for a second because
Absolutely.
what really disturbs me is that, schools are supposed to be a safe place. And it's not, children come to know their schools and their classmates. And this whole school closure piece in the interest of the market and allowing schools to fail and not considering the impact on children is just horrific. We've had over 40 school closures in this city alone since Katrina. And I even read in a paper, people say, well, yeah, good, we're getting rid of bad schools. But, I'm not for a bad school, but we also need to find a way to limit this impact. Why couldn't the Orleans Parish School Board take over this Arthur School for at least the rest of the school year?
Or tell us why it's a school bad. Here's the thing.
There
Where's
you go.
the onus? That's my whole thing.
Yes.
Where's the true accountability? Because for folk to cheer the closure of a school under the guise of, yay, we're getting rid of a bad school, well, what makes the school bad?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I want to understand what the real metric is or the real rubric is for school closure. Because I've seen schools operate in failure perpetually.
Yes.
Now, right?
Yeah.
And they were an emergency. It wasn't an emergency shutdown.
Well, now, for Arthur, they're saying specifically there was financial issues. That's what they're saying because of low enrollment.
Okay. Okay. Let's go there for a second.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Go ahead.
Let's go there for a second because you knew when you allowed them to operate, when you gave them the keys to the door to say go operate.
How many kids they would need?
You already knew that. You already were in the mindset of right sizing the district when you gave them the autonomy and the authority to go operate the school. So where did you think the children osmosis? Where are they going to magically come from? If you couldn't project them to be there from the day that you allowed them to authorize, then why now that they're authorized, now your excuse is, there's not enough warm bodies in the
There's not enough, yes.
So, and we have to...
And the district, unfortunately, disregarded all the demographic projections, because the projections are out there. This is not like a surprise that this is, that it is the way it is in terms of the number of bodies, the number of children available.
And I think it's premature to close that school considering they've not really had a very... a solid opportunity to operate. It takes at least 3 years for a teacher to understand her bearings in a classroom, right?
Yes.
If this school has only been open less than 5 years, how is that a true picture? Where's the T? Where's the T score?
Yeah. I hear you.
I've seen charters open, and you tell them that this is a transition.
Oh yes.
This is your transition period, right?
Yes.
So I want to understand. Is this like the country? Is this like the world where there's a tale of two judicial systems for wealthy populations and poor populations? Because it makes me, I have to take pause here because I could remember I came on this show as a guest.
Yes, that's right. Well, we both started as guests.
In the seat,
that's right.
And Oliver was here, and we were talking about this idea that there's a operator that is a white female in this city. She was allowed to take charters off the shelf to save her current failing charters.
Where's the bell at?
You know what I mean?
That's right. Yes.
I'm going to take the ones I'm currently failing at, take the new 5-year charter off the shelf, bring it to the failure, and consolidate
do
them
all
and
kind of stuff.
Start a new school, and the clock starts over.
Yes,
Remember
was that a rise
conversation?
Arise and Osborne. I know too much.
The pastor said you ain't got to keep dancing around and let's talk about it.
I know too much.
But come on now, like let's be real here.
Well, then on the other side, they also King High School.
Yeah, that's the same side. There ain't no other side. That's another black. Side, you're right. That's another black CMO. Let's just
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be called a thing Wednesday around here, right? Let's call it what it is, right? You and then you don't take into consideration the immediate impacts that's going to have.
Yes.
If you strip the community of its only vessel,
yes,
its only artery of education, then you're trying to kill the community, right?
No high school.
So you weigh that against the scale of saying what are the pros of closing this school and what are the cons of closing this school?
Because schools are more than just
they're more than
schools. That's right.
That is a community artery
hub. That's right.
If you tie it off, you're going to stop the circulation.
That's right.
Of life to the rest of the community. You know what you're doing.
Right. Yes.
And I don't understand how we find a way to save the other people's schools because I can remember another school.
Oh, yeah.
When they were saying they were going to close it.
Yeah,
you remember?
That's right. That's
and
right.
A handful of those white folk when they said, not my school and not my neighborhood. And then you got the superintendent came out the next
backed
day.
Up.
And
everybody
she said, we're going to, what? Yeah. So how, come on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so now you got Noble Minds.
That's Bessie
that's
authorized.
A Bessie school now, and so today
they're going
they
to
will be
to fight for their existence.
Yeah, well, and I don't know if they're fighting. I don't know if they voluntarily relinquish because that's the other new thing, is people relinquishing.
Well, that's like being fired or quitting, right?
Yes,
they're going to give you the opportunity to resign before they fire
That's right.
you, right.
And the same thing I think with International High School, which is a Bessie chartered school.
And the crazy thing about it, if you close the school now. What's that? The closing. Yeah. There's 87, I believe, boys.
Okay. Yes.
That you're going to unleash into the community and say, "Go figure it out."
And well, then let me say this because I had a problem. I wanted to go to the school board meeting last night, but I just couldn't make it. But when I was on the board, we had a policy. There you got preference. If something happened to your school.
But let's talk about that, though.
And so,
because that's why I just love that you walked through the door today because I was already loading my guns already.
So how does preference? So first, they weren't even told in the letter about anything about school options, just your school closing. So wait a minute. So then, what's the next step? And so now I got to wait for the letter number 2. How many letters am I have to get if I'm a parent in order to find out what's up?
They don't have that many preferential seats
out
there.
That's a whole nother thing.
To. So if you're going to talk about, we're going to close your school, but you have school priority, you have preference, right? What does the preference really mean? Because the 6 best schools, the 6 best in quotation marks, don't handle seats for you. So where you going? So now you're going to take the child out of a school that you deemed wasn't worthy enough to stay open, and you're going to send them to another one. So if they're not seniors right now, then they're facing another closure the following year, right? And let's talk about if they're seniors, then where they're going to go with no diploma.
That's right.
Because a lot of these charters don't have to take a senior.
Yeah, well now that's in terms of King. You're right now, but then for Arthur, then they're going to have to deal. Those kids are going to have a different curriculum, perhaps. And not just a different environment. And then who wants to go to a school in the middle of the school year? I mean, I remember being in school. And
Some kids don't want to go to school in September.
Exactly. And we look funny at kids who came, but
where you come from? Why you here?
Exactly. And it's unfortunate. I mean, that's childhood. But then why we're putting kids through that?
I wonder
how much money would it take? Can't we find enough money to make the payroll for Dolores Arthur for January through May?
That's all you said the problem was, right?
Let's help make the payroll, and then if you got to close it, close. But let's give those children.
I got a bell moment, Torin. I got a bell moment. If you could shortfall $36 million and ain't nobody closing you, then surely you can figure out how to keep this one school open at least for this other semester, right?
And the scheme of things, it ain't that much money.
I'm just saying.
It ain't that much money. It'll cost less than a school board race.
Let's also be clear. Especially if you were in a grassroots campaign. Let's talk about this too, right?
Yeah.
The last time I checked, when I sat in that seat and you were over there, Oliver was over here, NOLA Public Schools had a $92 million surplus.
Yes.
So is there really a $36 million shortfall? Is that the cape you put on the lady and made her fly away?
That's right.
Because she was talking about unifying this school district and you ain't really like that.
Yeah. Now you done gone off on something else.
I'm just asking. You're a pastor.
Yeah.
You are sworn, and you are the God.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the whole truth. No, but I mean, whatever. But it's serious, and I feel for all those families that have to deal with this. I tried to think this morning how many schools I went to. I had one elementary school, and then I went to 7th grade in a different school for 1 year. Then I was skipped a grade. I was skipped 8th grade, so I went to. Then I went.
Because you was smart.
I don't know
you
what they I guess maybe they didn't like me at that school. Then I went to Then I went to high school. I went to a 9th grade in a high school. So I was in 3 buildings my entire childhood.
Well, as for me, I went to William J. Fisher Elementary School, but I went to Head Start first.
Yeah, well, I went to Head Start too. You're right. We both Head Start babies.
We had a Head Start in the project,
yes,
right?
Okay, yeah.
In the Fisher project. I went to Head Start first.
Yes.
And then I went to William J. Fisher Elementary School,
mm-hmm.
right? All the way till 6th grade.
Yeah,
I didn't bounce around place
mm-hmm,
to place.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to the University of Edna Carr, right? From 7th to 12th grade.
Come on now.
I didn't bounce around. And the entirety of my 7th to 12th grade tenure, Mr. John Heiser was my principal. The entirety of my elementary school teaching and learning, Carol Egger Lane was my school principal.
I just saw her over the weekend.
We're not going to act like there was never continuity
something.
and stability in our school system. So when they tell us about, it was so bad that we had to devastate it and demolish it and burn it to the ground and build it back up with all of this innovation, and y'all can't even figure out how to keep a school open for one school year. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Kids shouldn't be in 6 different buildings before they finish high school.
And also, Torin, you're not going to tell me that you just discovered that it was fiscally, impossible to do in December.
Oh, no.
You knew this before you allowed them to start the school year. You knew it last year when you allowed them to operate. So why was there not a contingency plan put in place or a rescue effort put in place for this school
and I've
before
heard,
you just abruptly sent 87 children to the wilderness?
And I read that one of the school board members said, when I just don't know if it was a child or a parent was asking what's going on, and they said, well, the blame belongs to your school leadership, absolving the Orleans Parish School Board completely of blame, which I think is, if you're the charter entity and they're acting still as your agent on your behalf and on the community's behalf. And so there's still, and I don't think use the word blame, but responsibility. And even if they are to blame, since we still say, if you have the authority and the power to do something to lessen that blow, then why not do it? And we can do it. There's enough. The school board can put out a call today and say, business owners, we need $1 million. We need to. How hard is that? How hard is that for them to do?
Torin Sanders, they can go tap them deep pockets.
Well, that's too,
pro-charter reform will be pouring all this money into the school board races. Surely you should want the schools to stay open.
Could Bloomberg give $1 million?
I would assume so. Or you could go ask Big Mama over there, the Don Mother herself, to send you a check. Somebody ought to be able to help keep the schools that you want, because you want these charters, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Or do you? Yeah. Or do you?
We want some charters.
Or do you? Listen. We have to start asking the real questions, because why are you pouring money into the school board races to ensure that you have the school board members you want to continue the system that you want, but then the product in the system is constantly being taken off the conveyor belt. So what is your end game?
I think it's crazy, but I mentioned earlier about this fetish for the market and the fetish for the this capitalistic approach to education. And I think some people feel like, well, good, some schools will have to fail in order for us to show that we're serious about reform, that everybody can't survive, because that validates the system in some way, and that's sick, because what about the children?
Accountability. It allows them to close the door so that you don't go digging for the real accountability piece as to why this did not work, right?
Yeah.
Some people you could go and tell these stories to.
Yeah.
But today on the Good Morning Show,
remember
the two
John
people
Mack.
that said you can't.
Remember, not John, but it was the Future Is Now. Remember, Future Is Now. Yeah. I mean, they had their own TV show and everything.
So what happened to the future?
Yeah.
It's no longer now what happened.
I mean, we just think all the schools, Benjamin Mays, Miller McCoy.
Edgar P. Harney.
William
J. Fisher.
Yes.
Like, and this is the comment that I will continue to make. I made it down in the Ninth Ward when I went. I made it in the halls of the school board when, and I can remember 2 schools were up to close.
Mm-hmm.
My friend and I were just on the phone talking about this, right? And the one school was at the podium fighting for their existence, and the other school was sitting in the gallery. And Erase the Board was in there trying to convince them to merge their issues, because if you fight together
that's right.
it will be a bit harder. The school that was in the gallery said to us, that don't have nothing to do with us. We don't have anything to do with that. And 26 minutes later, when they went to that podium and got their school closed, we looked back at them and I said, I guess it have something to do with you now. Because that's the mentality that got us here. This idea that as long as it's not my school, as long as it's not my children, as long as it's not my neighborhood, we turn a blind eye to it. But then the moment they set their sights on you, you want everybody to care.
That's right.
But if all of us collectively say you not closing Harney, you not closing Fisher, you not closing Nelson, like you got to give us some idea of what we need to do to keep our schools open. No longer can you just say, oh, it's fiscal malfeasance or fiscal mismanagement, when we're watching you mismanage money too.
Yes.
But there's nobody coming to General de Gaulle telling you to pack your boxes up and get out.
That's right.
In December.
Yeah, nobody got fired over there for the 36 million.
Everybody's still making their chief money.
Yeah.
And the kids are suffering, looking for new places to go. How do you sleep at night? Like, what keeps you warm? Thoughts and prayers? I'm disgusted by it.
Yes.
We're gonna talk to Reverend Calhoun on line 2. Good morning, Rev. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
What you say, Calhoun?
Good morning. Good morning. Well, y'all already have discovered that the scam play. Now, our school board member has never even entered into the high school. So that tells you where that mindset is. But what I'm seeing, what is really going to happen with the children, the programming, the stuff that the Friends of King has brought into that school, and who then does that? Do the new people that's coming in, because there's been rumored that KIPP is coming there to take the building. If that's the case, I don't care if King would have had an A. They already was going to say that, oh, you don't have the low enrollment. The children of the community don't want to go to the school. We don't control that. King does not control enrollment. So how is it that you're going to hold King accountable for enrollment if they don't control it?
Especially when you're cutting off their enrollment without them knowing.
Wow.
Because see, they did that to Harney as well.
Yes.
When people were going down to one app
asking
to be put in Harney, they were told that the enrollment was closed. So we know the games that they play. So the Rev is absolutely correct in that regard. You can go down there and say, I want Martin Luther King, and they're going to tell you Martin Luther King is not open for enrollment, right?
Yes.
But you're going to tell us that we're closing
you
for a lack of enrollment. Stop it.
Then at some point, when was these conversations about who was going to come into that school really made?
Oh, those conversations were had long before the decision to close your doors happened. You know that. You know that.
Let me ask you
they were already coming to survey the community and looking at the structure, sending people to take videos and pictures to see if it was viable for their portfolio.
They sent people in there. Look, let me ask you this quickly though.
Yes.
When you come into the building, when you come in, how is it determined for you to now who? I guess what I'm asking is, when do those conversations actually start? Did King ever really have a chance at maintaining the high school?
No.
Because if the conversation started, last year, and the commercial that's being ran, is that New School for New Orleans?
Which commercial?
That there's no failing school?
Absolutely. That is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So are they lying, or is the school board lying? Who's lying?
Well, that's a good question, because as I said on the show, if you're running the ad telling me there are no failing schools in the city of New Orleans, and we went from 46th to 40th, then how is it that you're closing 2 schools in one day? and now your only justification has to be this idea that the bodies just aren't in the seats, because you can no longer say it's academics because you're waving this banner of.
Well, they did say it was academic.
But that
They
can't
said
be.
that one of the metrics that is that the kids are not passing the ACT test.
What was your
But
SPS
you're sending us
grade?
kids that's 2 years behind, and you want them, and you get them in September, and you want them to take a test in April.
What was
to
your
say that they're
SPS score?
prepared for college.
What was the
All
SPS
right,
for
I'll
MLK?
sit back and listen.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, that's the question. That's the question.
Thank you, Reverend.
What was the SPS for
but,
MLK?
But this is the bigger question. At this time, at this point now, I think as a community we need to all question the rationale of closing schools, period.
Or we need to close NOLA public schools. Everybody should just show up there and
that's
close
right.
them, because I think the time for polite talking about it is over.
Yes.
They're making radical decisions about our children. We need to have a radical
decisions.
response. That's my
right.
opinion. But we're going to have that and a whole lot
yes.
more on the other side of the break. When we come back, we'll talk to Ben Riggs from Real Reform Louisiana, talking about the problems surrounding the insurance market and tax regulation 2025. Stay with us on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. He rusty, y'all.
The station you listen to
all day long.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do. Every Monday is Moving Monday.
And Tuesday is Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday, we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All day long. NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
This is wellness advocate and host of Change Your Water, Change Your Mind, Pastor David Patan. Every week, I'm educating you on how to be healthier by making simple changes to your diet. So join me every Saturday at 1 p.m. and let's get better together, only on WBOK 1230. What New Orleans is talking about.
Greetings, WBOK family. This is Jason Clark, host of United Way and You. Be sure to tune in next Thursday at 12 p.m. when we'll be speaking with Melanie Richardson, co-founder and executive director of Training Grounds, a United Way funded partner. The topic will be the We Play, We Connect Family Resource Hub. Please tune in if you're able. Until then, we only have one life to live, so live united.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
What's going on, New Orleans? Tavis Smiley here of the Tavis Smiley Show, wishing you and yours a happy holiday season.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. In studio with me is none other than Pastor Dr. Torrin Sanders.
Good
talking
morning.
all that good hot stuff earlier this morning.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to that.
Okay.
But right now, we're going to join into this conversation Ben Riggs from Real Reform Louisiana, talking to us about the problems surrounding the insurance market. Good morning. Are you there with us, Ben? Hey, Ben. Did we lose Ben? It's okay. Listen, we're gonna see if we can get Ben back.
And I know, there his organization is called Real Reform Louisiana, and I know he's going to talk to us when we get him back about. I mean, look, everybody knows
everybody
about the insurance issue.
Why my insurance so high?
Yeah, and I saw on the news recently that they're saying that, I mean, the real estate market is almost stalled in the city of New Orleans, and I'm sure a lot of places around the state. Because you're looking at all your costs, it's like, okay, and then boom,
it's not worth
insurance is like,
it's not worth it. And the crazy thing about it too, Pastor, is your insurance goes up, and there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing they tell you is that's the market rate. That's the market for your state.
And even our pastors, in terms of our churches, you know, and of course that affects all. I got a letter a couple of years ago. Same company for over 30 years. And then all of a sudden, their reason was they said we were too close to the river. I said, well, we've been at the river since over 100 years.
Listen. Good morning, Ben Riggs. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm real happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Listen, no, we're happy that you're here because the pastor's over there talking about the insurance rates for his church, and I'm over here trying to figure out why my home insurance and my car insurance just keep jumping, and nobody can explain to me why. So I guess you are the right person.
Moving.
I'm sorry?
That river keeps moving.
Yeah, that river keeps moving. The river ain't what it used to be, apparently.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
And then in the church they say take you to the water. Right now, we don't know if we're gonna make it to the water. But help us out, Ben. What is the rationale behind skyrocketing insurance rates?
There are multiple factors. I mean, hurricanes, severe weather events, those types of things are a main driver here in the state of Louisiana. No question about it. Another reason that insurance rates have gone up is inflation. The cost of lumber, when it comes to when you file a home claim, the cost of the repair is going to be higher. The same for your auto insurance. The cost of the repair to your car is going to be higher. And with auto insurance, you also are experiencing higher rates because of cars are just more expensive now. So a mirror, whenever I was 20 years old, for the side of my car may cost $70 because it was literally a piece of plastic with a piece of glass glued to it. Now it's got 500 sensors in it, a blinker, cameras, all this stuff. So they're a lot more expensive. But beyond that, there are so many reasons that the cost of insurance in Louisiana goes through the roof that your average consumer, your policyholder is completely unaware of. For example, credit scores will drive insurance rates up. You could pay as much as double the cost for insurance because you have poor credit. And it's really a discriminatory, unfair, non-risk related. That's the key thing too there. It's non-risk related. It doesn't mean that you're a good driver or a bad driver, and it doesn't mean that you're more likely to have damage to your home. But insurance companies will use your credit rating to jack up the rate, your insurance premiums. That's and in Louisiana, where we have the second worst collective credit score, that's a main driver. Some states have prohibited it. Louisiana has not. And I think that's a main factor.
And so Ben, on that note. So I mean, is that something that if the insurance commission could do, or that would be a law that would have to be passed to prohibit using credit scores?
It would have to be done through the legislature. So I'm glad you mentioned the insurance commissioner there, because there was a really, really detailed, exhaustive study that was done by a professor of economics at the University of Harvard. I think there was another professor on that project from Yale, and I know there was one of the board of governors from the Federal Reserve that worked on it. And they examined insurance rates, property insurance rates around the country. And one of the things that they found is states with less regulation, states that scrutinize insurance companies less, that hold them less accountable and force them to justify their rate increases, those states pay more for insurance than states that have a higher degree of accountability. And one of the things they suggested was a state like California or Colorado or somewhere like that may say, well, we're going to need you to explain to us in great detail why it is that you want to increase this rate on Louisiana or Colorado ratepayers. And if they can't justify the rate increase, Colorado can reject it. Well, in Louisiana, we don't take that approach. Long as it's not discriminatory or deemed, unnecessarily excessive or something like that, the rate is automatically approved, long as the numbers add up. And so what they suggested in this study was that when they can't get the extra profits in Colorado or somewhere that has a higher regulatory burden, they may come to states like Louisiana where they can get away with whatever they want and jack up the rates to make up some of the lost profits in other states. And so expecting more from the commissioner in terms of holding insurance companies accountable would also go a long way.
So talk to us about this collect now, pay later model here that we're seeing, and what is a float? Because I see Warren Buffett, and it just makes me think this is like the rich get richer and the poor stay poor. So what is this collect now, pay later model?
This is the best question I've ever been asked in an interview. Most of the time I have to try to figure out a way to get to this answer because it is the most important thing for people to hear whenever they're trying to understand their insurance rates, why rates are going up. It's the core of the insurance industry's business model. Most people think that insurance companies make money by writing policies, insuring your home. So they'll insure your home or your car. You pay them for the insurance premium, and eventually you'll have to pay a claim. And most people think they make profits if they pay out less in claims than they bring in premiums. That's not at all the case. You have to think of insurance companies like investment funds. They write the policy because they want to bring in that money, the underwriting revenue. They want to bring that money in because it is billions and billions and billions of dollars that they can use to invest. The point of insurance is only to raise the money that they can then go invest. Where they really make their money is off the investment returns. So the float is the money that you pay them for premiums, that I pay for premiums, that your listeners pay for premiums. All of that money pooled together is the insurance float. They write the policy, you give them the premiums, that goes into the float. The float is invested. And where they really make, I think last year it was something like $83 billion in investment returns. So they're making tons of money off of these investments. And that's the reason that, like Warren Buffett has said, like he bought Geico because as an investor, and in his case, a really successful investor, it gave him access to such a large pool of money, and he collects it now. But he doesn't have to pay until later because you're not going to file a claim immediately. So you pay for your policy, and it may be 6 months, a year, 5 years before you file a claim. In the meantime, those premiums that you're paying every month or twice a year, it's in the float, and he's invested.
And so the downside of the float for the consumer is those insurance companies then do everything that they can to not pay out the policy I guess on behalf of the consumer, though, because I feel like they do everything they can not to actually pay out what we deserve to have paid out. You got to go through the hassle of convincing them that this is worth the money. Why is that? If I'm consistently paying my premium and I've never had an accident or I've never filed a claim, but the moment I do, I run into all of this red tape. Is that also a part of because it sounds like a pyramid scheme to me. I don't know.
I feel like me and you need to go on a speaking tour together. Like we're right on the same page because what's happening anytime you pick up the paper, anytime you go to the Advocate's website or you buy NOLA, the Times-Picayune, and you're reading it, and you see that the legislature is talking about tort reform. That's the phrase you always hear, tort reform.
Right.
What they will say is they're trying to make it to where, like, they're trying to reform Louisiana's legal system. That's baloney. What they're trying to do is make it harder for you to file a claim. That's what they're trying to do. What they want to do is be able to raise rates on the front end. Why do I want to raise rates on the front end? That's more money in the float for me to invest. The more money I have invested, the larger my return will be. And on the back end, they want to make it harder for you to file a claim because that means less money going out of the float and back into your pocket.
Yeah. So let me ask you then, because let me ask you this. In terms of the auto insurance piece, I've heard it said, and this goes to that tort reform piece, is that we have too many frivolous lawsuits in terms of auto accidents, that people ain't hurt, they've got tapped, but they're winning $1 million judgments, so to speak.
Yes.
So, I mean, how real is that, and what is the impact of that if it really is happening? And is it happening more here than other states?
I'm not going to say this is the only one. I know of one person who actually was awarded a $1 million plus judgment. I know that person somewhat personally.
Mm-hmm.
That person lost their daughter in a car accident, where an 18-wheeler the driver was high on meth, ran a red light and hit her. So if they want to use a quote unquote $1 million, if the insurance industry wants to point to quote unquote like a $1 million plus judgment, like that's the kind of thing you're talking about.
Okay.
And if they want to call that frivolous, they can call that frivolous at their own peril. That's, anytime you're being awarded some massive judgment like that, something terrible happened.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that, every single lawsuit that's ever happened, was with merit or whatever. But I am going to go out on a limb and say that when people go into court and they're awarded a judgment and, the judge and the jury found that, or they settle beforehand, it's because people look at this and they say, so-and-so was at fault and they're liable for, this amount of damages. The truth is all of those conversations revolve around what can we do to, they say lower insurance rates, but it's not really about lowering insurance rates. Once again, it's about keeping money from going out of the float and back into your pocket. But at the end of the day, it's always after the accident has happened. Nobody is ever saying, they're always talking about tort reform, which, like I said, is about your ability to file a claim. It's about taking the teeth out of your insurance policy. It's about making it where you can't hold an insurance company accountable. But they're never talking about, infrastructure reform that reduces the number of wrecks that we have. I mean, Louisiana has one of the largest ports in the Western Hemisphere. And as a result, you have a lot of 18-wheelers on our roads. But I'm about to, as soon as we're finished with this interview, I'm going to leave Baton Rouge. I've got to head down to New Orleans. Anybody who's drove that stretch knows that there are points along that stretch where the roads are not wide enough for the amount of traffic that they have. And it leads to serious accidents. Baton Rouge has the worst commercial traffic bottleneck in the country. And so we have to invest in our infrastructure to reduce the number of accidents because Louisiana is near the top in the country in vehicle fatalities per 100,000 miles traveled.
But what can we do, Ben, though, to hold the commissioner accountable? Because if you're stripping policyholders of their rights while you're padding the pockets of big insurance, then you're not doing the job on behalf of the people. Like the poor, the poor can't continue to float the wealthy in this country. It's just not it's just, to me, it's so gross to me, in my opinion. And people are already struggling here. So how do we hold the commissioner accountable for making certain that the burden to float this industry isn't on those of us who can't even afford it in the first place?
I completely agree. It is about holding the insurance commissioner accountable, and it's also about holding our legislators accountable. The commissioner is not going to do much without the legislature. We can write to the commissioner, we can email, we can show up, we can call. We can also show up during the actual legislature and let him know that we're not looking to have our rights taken away from us. We're not looking to have the teeth in our policy taken out or make it harder for us to file a claim. We want to hold insurance companies accountable. We want a competitive market in Louisiana. If this is the price, it's the price. Show us why it's the price. That's another thing that's not happening, because I'll tell you, I know we're running out of time, but I'll tell you this, for property insurance, which I know is top of mind for most people. So loss ratio refers to, that's the dollars in and dollars out, premiums paid in, claims paid out. The lower that number, the better for insurance companies, because it means that they're bringing in more money and paying out less money. And Commissioner Temple wants to always talk about dollars in and dollars out and ignore the investment profits. It's like he wants to pretend that that's not the core of their business model.
Oh, he want to pretend like the float don't exist. He want to pretend like the float don't exist, huh? That's weird.
And even though that's literally what drives their profits. Warren Buffett actually has said, if an insurance company makes money off of underwriting, that's just sort of the cherry on top. That's not the point. The point is to get the money to invest. But if we look at these loss ratios and compare Louisiana to our neighboring states, Texas has a 70% loss ratio. Mississippi has an 88% loss ratio. 70 is better than 88. Arkansas has a 133% loss ratio for 2023. That's terrible. They probably had a major hailstorm or something like that up there. Some tornadoes, something. Louisiana has a 46% loss ratio, significantly lower, according to the NAIC report from 2023, than any of our neighboring states. It's 24% lower than the next closest low one, which is Texas. Yet, listen to these average premiums. In Mississippi, the average premium is $2,800. In Arkansas, it's $2,900. In Texas, it's $3,900. And in Louisiana, it's $4,200. So we have the lowest loss ratio, and yet the highest average premium. And there's some truth to, in the past, we've had major hurricanes, and insurance companies have to be prepared for all that. It's absolutely true. But what they're doing is they're using the hurricanes to justify continuing to raise rates because they're able to. They're never going to turn down more profits.
So, Ben, my concern is that I don't understand how a legislator, who lives in, has his own house or her own house, lives in, and knowing that most homeowners are probably voters, registered voters. And when their home insurance is going up so high that they're considering selling their home or what have you, why is there not the political pressure to really do something? Because we've had a special session related to this last year, I think, and it seemed like really nothing happened except the grant program for the hardening of your roofs and money for the insurance companies to quote unquote attract them to this dysfunctional set of affairs that you've been outlining. So, what's really going on?
So you're right. The last time we did something in a special session was the roof fortification grant. I'll say this: they passed stuff last session that actually made things worse for homeowners. Louisiana did have a very unique rule in the 3-year rule that prohibited insurance companies from dropping you after you had been with them for 3 years. So a lot of people had enjoyed having, the rates may have been going up, but they got to stay with the same company. And now insurance companies are allowed to drop 5% of their policies every year, and they can request from the commissioner to drop more than 5% of their policies every year in each parish.
This is sickening, Ben. But look, Ben, we have to go to break. Can you stay with us until the other side of the break?
Absolutely.
So listen, we're going to go to break, but we'll have more with Ben Riggs from Real Reform Louisiana. And if you want to join this conversation, the number here is 504-582-9422. Stay with us. This is WBOK 1230 AM. What New Orleans is talking about. And the station you listen to what?
All day long.
All day long.
As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up, Oscar!
Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Every Friday at noon on WBOK.
You know we all love a surprise, like finding a 20 in your coat pocket, but nobody wants a surprise from the flu or COVID. If you're 65 or older, flu and COVID vaccines are your best defense against severe illness this fall and winter. These vaccines also cut the chances that you'll be hospitalized in half. Keep your surprises this season all good. Risk less, do more. Get started at vaccines.gov, paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
Hi, I'm Monica Pierre.
And I'm Sally Ann Roberts, and we are the host of your Power is On Gospel Music Show on WBOK Sunday mornings.
Best wishes this time of year. Remember, it's all about faith, family, and food.
Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy. And remember, your power is on.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is also in the building. And right now in studio, co-hosting with me is none other than the Dr. Professor Torrance Sanders. And we are all in conversation with Ben Riggs from Real Reform Louisiana. Ben, I want to talk to you about these tax regulations, but we have a call on line 1. Elmore, welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're in conversation with Ben Riggs, Real Reform Louisiana.
Yeah, always a pleasure. You know, but I think when you look at insurance in Louisiana and New Orleans, the people, we need to act like we the people. And we need to have the insurance commissioners, our councilmen, aldermen, congressmen, senators, and everybody across the board. You got to make these insurance companies more accountable. Now, in the wake of that young man that got killed in New York, the insurance guy, I mean, just look at it. Insurance is health-wise, auto-wise, homeowners-wise. It's ridiculous. And we keep on saying, we keep on agreeing, and we complain about it, but we the people, if we say we the people, let's act like we the people. Let's make people who represent us sort of accountable. And let's not just give them a blanket statement just to do what they want. And that's what we're doing. We complain about it, but we ain't doing it. But if we the people, like we are, let's make the people who have some type of power and voice with insurances. I don't care if it's homeowner insurance, health insurance, co-insurance. Let's make them accountable. I don't think Americans are doing that. Now, they complain about it now. Everybody complained about it now. But, I mean, nobody trying to make – the people have to make executives of the insurance companies, the people who claim to represent us, to do something, sister, brother. That's the only way things will change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elmore. We appreciate you.
So, Ben, tell us about, and our audience, a little bit more about Real Reform Louisiana. What is your strategy? What is your power base? What have been some of your accomplishments, and how can people join in with this work that you're doing?
So first of all, you can go to realreformla.com and connect with us there and stay in touch, and we'll keep you up to date about what's going on in the legislature during sessions. We'll share information with you throughout the year about our advocacy for real insurance reform, because like I said earlier, what you really have going on at the legislature most of the time is just reforms that make it harder for you to file a claim. Mm-hmm. To answer Elmore's question, one of the reasons that it's easy for our legislators and the insurance commissioner to tell, and to be clear, I think most of our legislators are trying to do the right thing. It's just the insurance industry is so prominent at the Capitol that most of the feedback they hear is from the industry. And, that's putting the wolf in charge of the hen house and the fox in charge of the hen house. But what we're really seeing is that people are saying our insurance rates are too high. I think we're the second most unaffordable state in the country, with 8% of our income going towards insurance premiums. And so when you look at that, people cry out for change. And then their legislators and the commissioners say, well, we're working on insurance reform. But what they're really working on are those reforms that make it harder for you to file a claim. But all people hear is we're trying to do something. What we really need to do is have a targeted effort that addresses how much we're paying in premiums and holds insurance companies accountable. One of the things I would start with is prohibiting the use of credit scores. Mm-hmm. In rate making, because that drastically impacts Louisiana in a negative way. One of the things we've worked on in the past is, for example, last year or about a year and a half ago, the Advocate reported about the 12 insurers that went bankrupt after Hurricane Ida. Well, what they had done was they had moved millions of dollars through these MGAs, which are almost like little shell funds that insurance companies use. Sometimes they use them to good effect and they're necessary, but in this case, they were using them as kind of like a shell company, and they would move the money into these MGAs and keep the liability with the insurance company. The MGAs would then take the millions that had been moved into their account and buy hunting leases and stuff like that were sort of, luxury items for the companies, for the executives to use, and they'd pay huge executive bonuses out of these funds. And therefore, whenever the people who'd been paying for their policy for years needed to file a claim after Ida, they didn't have the money to pay the claim, mm-hmm. and the companies went insolvent. And then those insurance claims just went into LIGA, which is a taxpayer-backed insurance fund that covers those claims when an insurance company goes insolvent. So basically, they took our premium dollars for years, spent it on executive bonuses and hunting leases. Company went bankrupt whenever the policyholders need them, and then the taxpayers were on the hook for those claims.
That sounds criminal to me.
We worked with the legislature to help pass a bill that provides greater accountability for insurance companies and MGAs by giving the public more transparency into MGAs.
Okay. We only have a few minutes left, about 2 or 3 minutes left. If you could just quickly talk to our audience about Louisiana Citizens, and is there anything that can be done? Is that being used the way it's supposed to be used? Tell us about that. We only have about 2 minutes.
Louisiana Citizens is a, sort of insurer of last resort, a backstop. It's statutorily required to have a higher insurance rate than your private market insurers. I think that there's a strong argument to be made that should be repealed, the statutory requirement for them to have a higher rate, simply because insurance premiums are just going through the roof. Mm-hmm. And so many people, particularly after you repeal the 3-year rule, are being having their policies canceled, and they're being forced onto Louisiana Citizens. If they're going to be forced into an insurer of last resort, they shouldn't be penalized, further penalized, by having to pay an artificially inflated high rate in a state like Louisiana.
Well, thank you, Ben. And, I think to our listeners, you need to talk to your legislators this upcoming session, March or April, and say you need to do a bill to prohibit credit scores being used in insurance and repeal that highest rate provision in Louisiana citizens and have those discussions.
And do something about making it harder to process a claim on the back end when they're making all of their money on the front end.
Yes.
So, this sounds criminal to me when you say it like that, right? Yeah. When you hear it like that, it sounds like a crime. But Ben, I want to thank you so much. And listen, I heard you're coming to New Orleans. When you come to the city, don't be a stranger to WBOK 1230 AM. We would like to have you in studio so we can delve deeper into this Louisiana reform in terms of what our insurances are costing us and what trajectory we're going in the future. Like, we would love to have your opinion sooner
I'd
than
love
later.
to come in anytime that y'all have. I wanted to make it there this morning, but my wife was out of town and I couldn't get a baby.
That's okay. There's always another time. Listen, the doors of WBOK are open. Whenever you have some time, come through and give us some more valuable information on what we can do to help curb the cost of insurance right here in our state. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank y'all.
Have a great one. Listen, that sounds almost criminal. But the way Ben breaks it down, see, that's what I like. I like somebody to make it plain and make it simple for us.
Yeah, I think when the session starts, we definitely should have him back in so he can talk about what bills are happening or and what people can do to make their voices heard.
Well, listen, we have to go to break right now, but y'all know when we come back, the professor, the doctor, and I are going to have some more in-depth conversation around all things local and worldwide politics. Right. So stay with us on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about. And it's that station you listen
to all day long.
All day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Idaho's strict abortion ban is back in federal appeals court. The law makes it a felony for doctors to perform abortions unless necessary to prevent the patient's death. The court will decide if federally funded hospitals must provide abortions when a patient's life or health is at risk, even in states that ban them. Character.ai is being sued in Texas for allegedly leading a teenager to self-harm by exposing underage users to harmful content. The lawsuit claims the chatbot encouraged violence and caused emotional instability in the child. Joe Burrow's home was broken into during the Cincinnati Bengals Monday Night Football win. No one was home, and it's unclear what was stolen. And Jamie Foxx reveals in his new Netflix special that he suffered a near-fatal stroke last year due to a brain bleed while filming Back in Action. He shared this emotional experience, including passing out from a severe headache. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
New Schools for New Orleans wants to send a huge congratulations to all of our educators, students, and families of New Orleans for their continuous academic growth. School performance scores have been released from the state. For the first time in many years, there are no failing schools in New Orleans Public Schools. As a district, our performance increased by 4 points. In addition, Orleans Parish now exceeds pre-COVID school performance score for all students by 6.2 points. When you see a teacher, school leader, or student, be sure to show them some love.
Good morning, wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Again, we want to thank Ben Riggs from Real Reform, Louisiana. He has promised to come back and talk to us more in depth, especially closer to the session, so he can help us break down the technicalities around the tax regulations and the insurance market in our state.
The rent is too high, the insurance is too high.
And the math ain't mathing.
That's right.
And the math ain't mathing. But right now, we were in conversation.
Yeah.
The doctor and I off air talking about the UHC CEO's murder
related to insurance, so to speak.
Absolutely, it absolutely is, because when you think about United Healthcare covering 49 million Americans, and a third of them are denied by artificial intelligence.
And artificial intelligence.
That is sickening to think about, because if you think about AI, some human programs it.
That's right.
To the algorithm, these algorithms,
which is always going to be flawed.
Which is always going to be flawed, but you have to give it some sort of particulars, right?
Yes.
Like so like are they black and poor, and the zip code don't quite add up.
That's right.
Get them out of here. We're not giving them a payout. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, and first, I want to say, I don't celebrate the death of anybody. And I know we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's unfortunate. That's going on online. I'm hearing and everything. We need to strike back at the system. And hold the individuals accountable, but it's sad that this young man allegedly, did all of those things and took those steps. But the system definitely needs to be held accountable, dealt with, and the whole idea that a doctor can write something and say this is what I need for my patient. And somebody else,
AI,
and not even a person,
intelligence can say,
yes, right. I know you got 20 years of experience, Doc, but I'm AI.
Yeah.
So no.
But the caveat to that is somebody's programming the AI. It's not like the robot just woke up from a mechanical slumber and said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yes.
Unbeknownst to my human creator.
That's right.
Somebody is programming it. And giving it its instructions on who to approve and who not to approve. But for 16 plus million folk to get denied coverage every year, while bonuses on top of bonuses on top of bonuses are being handed out, just like what Ben was saying, this float thing, but they're taking our money and investing it so they could buy yachts and summer houses at Martha's Vineyard and things of that nature.
That's right.
And people are dying every day because you're denying them life-saving medications or care.
That's right.
To me, that is criminal. I don't understand.
Yeah, you've been using that word a whole lot today.
Because it is.
There's a lot of criminal stuff going on.
And the crazy thing is they penalize that small-time crime.
Yeah.
But these big-time crimes, they get looked at in a different light. White-collar crimes are just as violent.
That's right. No, and, now, and this guy this is an interesting situation here. He's from an affluent family. Has 2 degrees from Ivy League school, including computer science. I went to Stanford, I think, for a minute also. But then had this 3D gun that he created. It's like, wow. The fact that he's able to have all this technology.
This sounds like another installment of Shooter. Have you seen the series Shooter?
I
did.
This
sounds like
I saw the movie.
There's a series now based on the movie.
Wow, yes.
And this sounds like an episode because they specialize. The government specializes in the art of distraction.
Wow.
Because now they're saying that some of the pictures that were put out are not the actual pictures of the supposed shooter, because they're saying that because people are saying the guy you arrested, because I know I'm one of the people, and the guy that you showed us on this footage, they don't look like the same person, right? And so.
Well, he did. He was the guy they arrested was shaving.
So I'm gonna go do all that and I'm gonna sit at McDonald's with my scully cap on and my jacket pulled up, so I look mysterious and I look suspicious.
Now they said he had the manifesto on him, and he had the ghost. He had the ghost gun.
But don't they all have a manifesto? Don't they all? And we don't know the authors of these manifestos. Don't they all?
Yeah.
It's like same script, different movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I for one. The guy was yelling as they were bringing him into the courtroom.
Yeah, he said it's an insult.
This is an insult to the intelligence of the American people. What did he mean by that?
The question of the day.
What did he mean by that? Because the way they were like ushering him in, it was like he best be lucky they didn't gag him. Because I bet bet you he gonna be gagged next time he come out of a building because they don't want the real. Cause come on now.
So you think maybe there's a setup going on? Somebody?
Don't act like the country is not accustomed to patsies.
Oh,
like
boy.
you know what I mean?
Kennedy and that's
don't act like the grassy knoll. Don't act like this country is not above patsies, right?
Yeah.
But for me, in all honesty, in all seriousness, like I don't think people are celebrating death as much as they are lacking empathy for the power structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as a CEO of a corporation that you know that you manage and you are denying 16 plus million people of life-saving care while you go ride on your yacht and you and your family could go vacation in different parts of the country and people are actually dying, then that has to be a question to your humanity, right? How do you do that?
When I was in school and we were studying, I think there's one philosopher named Rousseau, and you see where I'm going with this, but he talked about the social contract.
Yeah.
And he was like, for society to be in peace and have some level of harmony and respect, there's a contract, so to speak. It's not a written contract, but there's understanding.
I think the contract is one-sided.
And well, the contract is broken. No, what he's saying
it's one-sided, though, because the victims of violence are always asked to be nice to the perpetrators of the violence. Because even when you said earlier, like, we don't want to celebrate death, nobody's celebrating death, right?
Yeah.
But how is it that they can do, and I mean the systems and the structures and the ultra-wealthy, could commit the most violent acts on us and nobody calls it violence simply because they're not picking up guns and shooting us in front of prestigious hotels does not mean it's less violent.
It's violent. It's economic violence. It's economic violence. Yes. And
it's violence to watch a child die from cancer and you know that you're denying him health coverage and not paying out his claim and not giving him life-saving medication. There would be no need for a St. Jude if actual human beings express humanity towards other human beings. But no, the ultra wealthy want to stay wealthy at the expense of the ultra poor.
And that's why the masses of us, the people who are impacted, we can no longer be silent. We cannot be complacent.
Nor can we be nice. Stop asking us to be nice.
Well, no. What was that say? They said if you don't say something, they'll think you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I completely. And that's why with Dr. King even in the movement, people told him, well, it wasn't time. And give them more freedom, more space, and everything. And he's like, no. He said, everybody's always telling us to back up, to slow down, and we have to be ready. But with this issue, what's interesting about this is that he was from an affluent. Say if he allegedly did do it, that this is an issue that affects not just one type of person. That the insurance companies are so bad,
that even the rich can't afford. Even
the rich can get denied and can get mistreated and misused, just like poor folk. And so that should even say even more about it to us that truly there's something going on here. That people are putting complete. I mean, and it ain't nothing new in the history of the world.
No.
But people have put money over people's lives and over people's health and safety. The attack against Obamacare, all he wanted to do was say, insurance companies, let's insure as much people as possible. And they were like, no, for women, if you've been pregnant, that's a pre-existing condition. So we don't want to cover you no more. He said, we got to cut that out.
They ought to consider racism a pre-existing condition.
That's what no argument from me.
They ought to consider it an illness, a mental illness, and then deny them coverage for their mental illness. And just because I'm sick, I in the greed of it all, right? Because even with the UHC's, the CEO's murder, they put out a reward, right? Some men in the McDonald's are the men who spotted the guy and told the McDonald's worker, I think that's the guy, right? Now, keep in mind, he looks nothing like the guy in terms of the McDonald's picture that they showed us. He had the scully cap on and the jacket. They claim he had a backpack. But the authorities told us the real killer left the backpack in the woods.
That's right,
so
in Central Park.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But now they're saying the people in McDonald's are not entitled to the reward because they dialed 911 and they didn't dial the line.
I didn't hear that part.
For the money.
I didn't hear that part.
So that's that bureaucracy, right? All that
they can't even get their money
because.
Oh no.
That's another plot twist in this movie that they're writing.
But what was interesting to me was that. Wasn't the reward only like 40 or 50,000?
That's all
for a multi, I'm sure, millionaire of a $1 billion company.
That's not even gas money for their yacht. Yeah, and they said they may not be entitled to the reward because the caller now don't you dial 911 in case of emergency.
That's right.
All the 911 should have did was dispatch me to the line so I could go get my money. But they're now saying that these people might not be entitled. Isn't that the cherry on top of the audacity cake? Yeah. That I'm thinking I'm doing my civic duty because you put this reward out here.
Right.
You want this man so bad because he killed this ultra wealthy white executive. Because let's put that out there. Because there was only this fanfare about it because of who he was and what his association and proximity is to wealth that it made it a story. Because you could choke a poor black man on the subway, ain't nobody gonna care.
That's what, in the same city,
ain't nobody gonna care about it.
And a jury found a Marine who obviously was trained, who knew how to perform that maneuver, and then obviously should have known when to stop the maneuver or when the threat was over, yet found completely not guilty. And he went and had a beer afterwards.
So I wrote something on my social media that I wanna say, right?
Okay.
I said the on-camera murder of the UHC CEO is dominating the headlines because the CEO is a white, wealthy male executive. Meanwhile, a former Marine asphyxiated a homeless black man in full view of a subway full of witnesses and was just acquitted with minimal press. Footage of your murder will never be enough when every level of government lacks empathy for the poor. Apparently, justice has an algorithm.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And it is not nothing new. Emmett Till, the Scottsboro boys.
I'm saying all of that.
George Floyd.
I'm saying all of that to say, at what point?
Yeah.
At what point does the radical violence to our people and our communities and our children and our neighborhoods and our very livelihoods require a radical response? Or are we going to still Bible thump and hand out the Bible in the courtroom and say, I forgive you? After you gunned down my son in his own apartment. I'm going to hug you and I'm going to forgive you. What type of time are we going to be on?
I hear what you're saying.
I'm just asking for the people.
I hear you.
In the back.
So the Bible does talk about forgiveness, and the Bible also talks about justice.
Talk about it.
All right. And so there is a place, right? I mean, Jesus was the most radical revolutionary there ever was.
But
right?
they like to wrap Jesus up in this white cloak.
Well, that's Dave. We're talking about us.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about us. And so
let's unwrap Jesus.
For Christmas, let's unwrap Jesus.
Let's unwrap Jesus. Come on.
And so, people, like us, like myself and others, we believe in what was called the liberation theology, all the way back from the 1960s and beyond with James Cone. And so the church, if don't even the church response, the not only to and people of faith, our response should be one of rising up in the tradition of our ancestors, in the tradition of David Walker's appeal, and the tradition of Henry Highland Garnett. If you don't know who he is, look him up. And the tradition of Martin Luther King and Reverend Andrew Young and Reverend Wyatt T. Walker and all of these greats.
I can't add the context I want while I'm on air, but when we go to break, I'm gonna tell you what other spirit we ought to rise up in. I'm gonna tell you all.
So we need to do that, and we can do it without becoming our enemies.
No, you
becoming
don't have
like
to.
our enemies.
You don't have to.
Yeah, and
all I'm saying
so,
is I don't want to perpetuate violence on anyone.
That's right.
What I want to do is do whatever it takes by any means necessary to keep you from perpetuating violence on me. That's what I want.
I hear you.
I want to be able
I want to protect my family. You want to protect your family.
And as the old Negro hood anthem goes, don't start no stuff. Won't be no stuff. That's it. That's all right. I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go around and tell you don't belong here. Go back to your country, because I want them to remember this ain't their country either.
But let
me say this to you. Tell people to go back somewhere. We're not doing that.
Yeah. What
we're asking you to do is leave us alone.
But let me say this to you. I wish it were as simple as you and I going out and getting in somebody's face and telling them what they ain't gonna do, and then it'd be done. We got to play chess. This is a deeper battle, right? Yeah, this is a deeper.
I'm the queen piece.
I hear you. This is a deeper battle. While we're and I have nothing against the culture. And second, but while we're playing games sometimes, and while we're being distracted, right? People are still planning.
We talked about
years
that
ago,
off air.
years ago when I was on the school board, and I was inadvertently sent an email because I was getting ready to light it up about something. I forget what it was, but they said the email from a reporter, a white reporter, that they were supposed to send it to somebody else about the situation, and they said, "Don't worry. After a week, you won't hear about it anymore." So they expect us to only cry for a minute and only protest for a minute, and then they will outlast us. And then we don't realize that the Montgomery bus boycott took over 360 something days.
I do.
And so we got to realize, when are we willing to put in the long-term work and the consistent, persistent work? Because it's not about, we can get angry right now about anything, but what is the plan? I used to do a show here on the station called The Black Agenda, but a lot of people don't want to talk about an agenda. They just want to talk about who I'm going to vote for, what person, what personality,
the reason
and then the agenda. Yeah,
the reason they can't talk about the Black agenda is because they taking the white people money. That's why they can't talk about a Black agenda, because you're gonna ruffle the feathers of your white benefactor. That's why you can't talk about a Black agenda, because they ain't free. They're attached to something. They're beholden to something. And I'm gonna leave you with this analogy before we take this phone call. It says the forest was shrinking, but the trees kept voting for the axe. For the axe was clever and convinced the trees that because his handle was wood, he was one of them. They sent us for us.
Yes.
And because they dress like we like, they look like we like, the vernacular is like, we think they're one of us. But we trees and they axes and they just chopping us down, and we letting them do it because we keep on believing and thinking, oh, he wouldn't do that. That boy mama grew up down the street from he wouldn't do us that. And when you look around, ain't much of us left because he done chopped us all down because you still over there believing in what you see. They better stop playing while we serious.
We gotta come.
Good morning,
I got a quote for you when you come back after this too. Yeah,
I like quotes.
Good morning, you guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just was saying, I just want to call and just say what I had put up last night as well, because I don't think people who don't understand how these charters work understand clearly that we have literally given up free public education. And the way these charter boards are set up, they actually are private boards. They don't answer to anyone but themselves, or Leslie Jacobs, we want to say that. But basically, if all of these schools for one day just decide, if all of these charter boards decided one day we're going to close, they can literally just close without rhyme, reason, and they don't need the school board. They don't need the school board approval to close. The only reason those boards are going to the school board because the school board is closing them. But let's say they decide that they just want to close, they can decide that, and it doesn't matter what happens. And our kids in this city where we're almost 100% charter, if all of those boards decided for whatever reason we're just going to close, you're not going to open up anymore, our children have no more free public schools in this city. And I don't think people understand that that is literally the blueprint for getting rid of public education. And we have been used as that blueprint.
Absolutely. And you know, I didn't have no problem pulling up your post and reading it, but I'm glad you did it because I didn't have permission to do it. But I thought it was very appropriate. So thank you for calling in. We have to go to break. But I want y'all to stay with us right here because we'll have this and a whole lot more. Aaron, I see you on hold, baby. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about. And what station is this?
WBOK 1230 AM.
The station you listen to
all day long.
Hey, this is Steve Poston. Be sure to listen to WBOK 1230 a.m. every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday evening at 5 p.m., bringing you the best Southern Soul barroom music with the Southern Soul Weekend Party Mix, hosted by me, of course. I'll be playing your favorite Southern Soul music by artists from all over the South, right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. or online at WBOK1230.com. The station you listen to longer. Listen to longer. Listen to longer.
NOLA Public Schools' main round enrollment for kindergarten through 12th grade is now open. With 73 schools available through the NOLA Public Schools Common Application Process, or NCAP, finding the right school fit for your family is easier than ever. List up to 12 choices to maximize your chances and apply by January 24th. We're all in, and we hope you are too. Apply today at enrollnolaps.com. That's enrollnolaps.com.
Delgado Community College offers programs in business, technology, health sciences, and the arts. With over 100 career-focused degrees and certificates that are affordable, flexible, and transferable, we can give you the knowledge and skills to succeed. Delgado is a great fit if you're starting your post-high school education, or we can help you advance or change your career. Take a step toward being unstoppable at Delgado Community College. Visit dcc.edu to learn more today.
Are you ready to make a difference in your community? Join me, Randy Chambliss, and my co-hosts Dion Dana and Barry Mallory on Helping the Village Radio Show, where we raise awareness, advocate for real solutions, and coordinate supportive services to prevent and reduce homelessness. We're connecting the dots to build stronger, thriving communities. Tune in every first and third Saturday at 2 p.m. as we collaborate with local leaders, real estate investors, and nonprofits, working together to provide hope and opportunity for those in need. Helping the Village Radio Show, empowering change one community at a time.
Sunday mornings are reserved for a good word on WBOK. This Sunday, be sure to catch Dr. Kevin Stevens Sr., the pastor of Christian Unity Church, for service and a powerful, full, inspiring word. Listen live every Sunday morning right here on WBOK.
WBOK is pleased to announce the reboot of Crosstown Conversations with host Gene Nathan. A heightened focus on cultural entertainment events and the creatives who present them. The new time is now Saturday at noon. Tune into the stories of our exploding creative scene with Gene Nathan on Crosstown Conversations.
Hello, WBOK family. This is Hannah Stottmeyer, your intern, and I just want to wish you a happy holiday along with a happy new year. And just enjoy this time with your family and friends and just be grateful for everything you have.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show.
The
Baby,
fire is on. The fire
is
is on.
Lit. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. My co-host this morning is none other than Pastor Dr. Torrin Sanders, and of course, super producer Nyron Sanders. I don't know if they're related.
We're not related, but he's my homeboy. He's my homeboy.
But Nyron is behind the glass, holding us all together. But on
we
line
got a caller.
one, we have Miss Alicia. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning to both of you educators.
Good morning.
Y'all the right people to the questions I want to ask and statements I want to make. Pastor Sanders, you were a school board member.
Yes.
Dr. Wyatt, you are Dr. Wyatt.
Yes, ma'am.
There are laws that this charter, these charter laws that they're not following themselves. First off, the school board meetings are supposed to be held where the majority of the schools are, and that is the East Bank. Pastor Sanders, I don't know if you were on when they made the change to only go have these meetings in that small room, which is by design, that small room in Algiers. If you can answer that, why they did that, although we know why. And also, I have a question. When is the next funding for the schools? Because I know the first one is in October.
February 1st. October 1st,
Okay.
February 1st.
Okay, now I'm just asking a question. If the parents and advocates were to protest and have their children not attend, is it a certain day that they don't show up? or maybe a week
February
we need to
1st,
keep
yeah.
our children out?
The count
or 3
happens
days
October
to keep
1st
our children
and
out
February
so
1st.
that, what is it?
The warm body count happens October 1st and February 1st.
Okay, so February 1st, we need to start organizing for a sick out, a walkout, or a boycott.
Yeah, and Miss Alicia, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I was off the board. My last year was 2008. I was on from 2005 to 2008, and I don't think that we met in that building, in the across the in the General de Gaulle building. But don't quote me on it. But I don't believe that building was up and running again in the after
I
Katrina.
think you're absolutely correct.
Yeah,
They used to hold the meetings at 35. I guess 35.
They absolutely did.
Yeah.
They wanted to limit the spectators and the protesters and stuff. So now it's crammed in that little bitty room, and they have police officers out there. Like we fear the police officers, and I have to give credit to Leon Clark. When I was there, and I talked about how you have a lawyer sitting on this board and is allowing Ethan Ashley, who does not live in the district that he's required to live in. He lives in Olin Parker's district, but he still sits up there as the president of OPSB, and they got so mad with me. This called themselves sticking the police on me, and Leon Clark stood up and said, "You better not put your hands on it," and they did not. We got to start fighting like the '60s, y'all. We ought to stop complaining and bellyaching and start doing stuff. So February 1st, we need to start a petition to keep our children home that day.
Listen, I appreciate your call, Miss Alicia. And hang up and listen because the conversation will continue. Thank you so much for your call.
Yeah, you gave us that great poem. Is there somebody else on the line?
There's a whole bunch of
Okay,
somebody
let's
on
do the calls.
Line 2, good morning, Aaron. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're good.
Yeah, you're right. First, shouts out to the Fatherhood Roundtable as well as the People's Political Party. Let me say this here. The more we continue to wait for the enemy to just all of a sudden feel good and get holy and do the righteous thing by us, we're going to continue to have these conversations like this. Look, we have to take and build our own institutions to make sure that our students getting what they deserve. We got to stop saying we don't have no money. We, black people, just raised $30 million. It didn't even take a whole day for Kamala Harris. Let me repeat that. We just raised over $30 million.
Oh, way more than that. They raised way more than that.
No, I'm talking about what black people raised within a day when she first announced overnight. In less than 4 or 5 hours, $30 million. So look, these people already had their plan in place. Doc, you said something yesterday about us already knowing the playbook, but yet we started having these same old conversations as if we don't know that what they are doing is exactly what the outcome is going to be. The more we take, and they know we're not going to do nothing. That's why it's like the pastor just said a little while ago. They know we're going to get mad for an hour, 2 hours. They go back to our respective gated communities and be all right. So, again, there's more power in the people than people in power. And the more we continue to give our power to others thinking they're going to have our best interest, we're going to keep on having this conversation the next 4 years, the next 2 years, and the next 6 years.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aaron. We appreciate you. Good morning, Pop Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
All right, Pop.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call, Dr. Wise and Dr. Sanders.
Yes, sir.
I might be a little bit off subject because I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I just ask hard questions. There's 2 schools. I've been in Algiers all my life. I'm an old person. Boreman and 32. I went to 32 as a child. My parents went to 32. They would be over 100 years old if they were still living. The young man that ran for governor, I think, Dr. Wilson.
Sean Wilson.
Yeah, he went to 32. I think his uncle, aunt, and his mother went to 32. 32 is just sitting there. Boyman was a Caucasian school. And I'm not a prejudiced person because a friend of mine is of the other race, and I could call on him anytime, and he'll come to my aid. But that school, Boyman, has been upgraded, but 32 is just sitting there. So look like it's going to be a matter of time before they tear it down or something. Why would a school been there all those years, way over 100 years, still be sitting there and not used? And Boyman is being upgraded. Could y'all answer that question?
Well, we definitely can answer that. The entire direction that this district is trying to go, Pop Jones, is to what they consider right size in the district. So the school is sitting there because they're trying to convince us that there are not enough children in the city to accommodate all of the buildings that are the ones that are viable, let alone the ones that are dilapidated and have nobodies in them. So that's what their goal is, and they're going to do Berman because Berman is
and that's some great real estate over there
some
too,
wonderful
right near the river.
Some wonderful real estate, and here's the thing: Berman is also a part of a struggling charter organization.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying, what is the algorithm that they're using? What is the rubric that they're using? How do they determine who closes and for what reason? Because for the reasons they're naming, there are a number of schools who don't need to be open if that is the only way that we're justifying closing our schools.
That's right.
We don't have enough blacks
that's what they're telling us, because we know a lot of our children are in the judicial system right now.
Yeah.
Travis Hill doesn't want for kids because they come in by the boatload. So if our children are not incarcerated and participating in school in the penal system, they want us to believe that they're just out somewhere else. They're moving away, and they're just not here. I know there are a lot of people opting for homeschool, but the homeschool ratio does not account for the number of children that we have considered lost in this system. So where are the children? That's the question.
Where are the immigrants? What school are they?
Where are the children? Yes.
Thank you, Pop.
Thank you so much, Pop. We appreciate you.
Wow. We got another caller?
Yeah, I mean, the phone lines are lit up.
Yeah, well, there's this point we were talking about, just the need for everybody to come together and not just have a myopic, a short view of what's in your interest. We need to look at everybody. And so there's a poem that was written by Pastor, during or shortly after the Nazi occupation. And he said, first they came for the communists.
Yes.
And I did not speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists. And I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me.
Yeah.
Nobody left.
That's
so
it.
we have to look beyond ourselves, our narrow self-interest, and realize that we're all in this same boat together, especially we as Black folk in the city. Still, 50% or more of our children, Black children, are in poverty, while only 3 or 4% of white children are in poverty.
So how is it that we're not? How is it that we're not pushing these entities, these outfits, in terms of accountability? Because I think it's so crazy how we always hear the conversation that blame parents, right? We always hear the conversation about blaming the kids, but nobody's paying attention to the systems that are created to make certain that parent is not active in the life of her children, because she's doing everything to do what Ben was telling us about. The high insurance rate, we got to pay the bill. The high food bill, we got to try to put food on the table.
But forget about all of that.
Like
even myself as a professional in this city, as a Black man, I felt like we don't want you coming into this school.
You and I.
Don't visit. We don't want you looking at nothing.
Well, they can't have you because your eyes look differently, right? Because you actually know what to look for. You actually know what good schooling looks like. You actually can call out the thing masquerading as a school. So no, Pastor. Stay away from here.
But we everybody has a sense of what's good and what we need. We all know, we should know, especially Black parents know the same thing they do at Newman.
Yeah.
The same thing they do at Country Day.
Yes.
And the issue is, what does it require to successfully educate Black children who are genius and who are brilliant, but who are dealing with circumstances in our communities?
Love.
Yeah, and what is the attention, the curricular approach, the people, all of that.
Let me tell you why I say that.
Yeah.
If you love them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't feed them a curriculum that's not suited to feed to a dog, right? If you love them, you wouldn't put food on the plate in the cafeteria that you wouldn't feed to your dog.
That's
if
right.
you love them, right?
Yep.
If you love them, you will care enough about them to ask them how are they doing
right.
prior to jumping on them about why they got their hoodie on. You don't love them. If you love what you did, you will honor it in a way that shows that love. Because how do you go to a school and mistreat children, but then go to your house and certainly turn on a different switch to handle your kids with care? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Or how do you go to a school to govern it and then you neatly tuck your children away in a different school that you don't have to treat them like prisoners?
Don't even visit.
You don't have to worry about what they're eating, if the teachers are qualified, if the teachers have a criminal record, if the bus driver has any kind of conviction.
But don't we have policy now where the teachers don't have to be qualified?
No, they don't have to be qualified.
They don't have to be certified.
But if you love it, right? If you love a thing, I'm very, very serious about this.
Yeah, I hear you.
If you love a thing, you handle it with a different level of care than if you care nothing for the thing.
That's
right? That is why we walk past strangers and we don't have the same level of excitement or honor for them that if we came across our aunties or our uncles or at the cookout and we see our grandmothers, right? We greet them a certain kind of way because we love them.
Yeah.
There is buy-in with them already. The reason why you can't do the job for poor Black children because you don't see the humanity in them and you don't have no love for them. And that's just the bottom line. You can wrap that up in whatever bow you want to put it on.
Yeah.
But stop perpetrating the fraud like you do.
If you love our children, so how have we allowed people who don't love our children to be in charge of our children?
I'm trying to tell you how we allowed it. I keep on trying to tell you we allowed it because they send people who look the parts, right? Right?
Yeah.
There's Black school leaders who look the part, and that you don't even know they gave you their job so they could eliminate the argument about having white folk in charge of Black children, right? So they gave you that
Clarence
job.
Thomas approach.
Yeah, they gave you that job.
There's a Black on the Supreme Court.
You're the placeholder because the C-suite people telling you what to do in your building, right? And you know it ain't right, but you do it anyway because the C-suite people said do it, and that's who write your check, and that's who sign your check, and that's why you still employed because you don't buck a system that you know is damaging to Black children. That's how we got here.
That's how we got here.
Complicity is how we got here. Complacency is how we got here. A lack of care is how we got here. Because long as my child ain't struggling in this broken system, I don't have nothing to say. And as long as they cutting the check, I don't have nothing to say. If I could pay Atmos and Entergy and the water people, I don't have nothing to say. That's how we got here. And we need to stop pretending like Black people don't have no part in this.
Yeah.
The white folk couldn't come for us that we didn't allow them to come for us.
Ring the bell.
I'm talking about the white folk who perpetuate this broken system because there's some really good white folk fighting against this system as well. Anne Marie is one of the leading voices of white folk who talk about how broken this system is. Ask me if she's employed. Huh?
Is she employed?
No, because they pushed her from one parish to the other one.
Yeah.
She went to that parish and saw that it ain't doing what it's supposed to do either. So I would rather go retire, enjoy my husband, and enjoy some second lines and mind my business, right? That's what they're doing to all of the good in us.
Now, and when we
burning us out,
and not only in the school system, but let's look at our political class and in political environment. Where are the candidates? Election season is coming up. I think we got.
I like the way the pastor just finessed that transition because he know where he going with this because somebody has declared that they're running for mayor.
I came out and said it openly. Said I'm running. Miss Helena Moreno.
Yeah, but
if you didn't know, now you know.
Yeah, but see, I like when the covers come off because now that you've put yourself in a position of wanting to steer this boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know where their stances are with a lot of these things, because a lot of the times we allow our politicians to say, "Oh, education is not in my wheelhouse. That's not what I govern. That's not right."
Yeah.
But then you notice when COVID happened and everybody wanted to be at the podium, talking to the news people, all of a sudden we had all of these political people having conversations about education.
And years ago,
that's weird.
Years ago, the city council had an education committee, but all of a sudden, education wasn't worthwhile to be dealt with the city.
Lion One, welcome to the Good Morning Show, Cedric. What you got for me?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. That's crazy. Good morning to both of you, doctor and pastor, to our listening audience. God is on the line. He's looking. That's crazy, because what y'all just segued into is the reason why I'm calling.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, with education, to add to what you all just said, didn't our city council pledge $10 million or $20 million over the next 2 years to the educational system?
Yeah.
Now, if you did that, where is the school board? Why aren't you making certain mandates to both of you for what you do for education?
I like that question. Cedric saying, if I'm giving you my money, surely I should have some sort of say in what you're doing with my money, right? Yeah. I like that question, but you got to remember that 20 million, Cedric, is the bailout. That's not new money. That's money going to pay for debt already.
Yeah. Now, then, in reference to the two schools, because it hurt my heart to see the young black men, the young black students on the news last night talking the way they're talking. Again, if we have at least 40,000 students in these schools, 40,000 times 2, that would be a mother and a father, is 80,000. If we do 40,000 times 4, a mother, father, grandmother, and a grandfather, that's 160,000 people. That brings me to this. There's an organization that's having a town hall meeting Monday, December 16th, the New Orleans United Front. And I'm calling and asking for a member from every social aid and pleasure club group to be there. It starts for 5 p.m. at 2372 St. Claude Street, Cafe Instaball. The moderator is none other than Dr. Ashanta Wyatt.
All right.
Changing New Orleans is on us, and the elephant in the room are these social aid and pleasure clubs. If we're going to do better, if things are going to shift, then the people who are in the streets have to mandate and regulate and then investigate. I'm tired of politicians throwing rocks and hiding their hands. We got people declaring that they're running for mayor. Then we need to, as a community, rally behind a candidate before we won't have a black mayor again. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Cedric.
Hey, and people, we better start paying attention, because the moves are being made right now. It ain't gonna wait till next year or March or April or May, but the moves are being made right now for city council at large. We got another caller.
Do a bunch of callers.
Okay, go ahead. We got city council at large. The school board is already settled, but then we need to show up. You need to show up and hold this new board accountable. But city council races, state rep, and all of that, pay attention. And it may be your turn. It may be your turn. Let me just say this you got to start early. If you want to have a chance at winning, start now. If you really are serious about making that kind of change. Let's take some more of these callers.
Line 2, Big Ike, welcome to the Good Morning Show. Good morning. Are you there? Did we lose him? Hopefully he'll call back.
Okay.
Hey, John, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. We lost him too? Can we not hear? Well, Big Ike is calling back. Good morning, Big Ike. How are you? Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Yay.
There he is.
Good morning. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all something. It hurts my heart to see all the things that is going on in my beautiful city. Like I told somebody the other day, I moved back home 2 weeks before Katrina, and I didn't understand what was going on due to the process of what was happening. And then after Katrina, it was just a whole different thing. But when you're looking at the education process of our people in our city, I'm looking at you. You come out the neighborhood. You do what you do. pastor, you always giving plenty of enlightenment to these people. And what it is that we got to come to the scratch line. We got to come to the scratch line and be prepared to fight for our children and our grandchildren, because somebody stood in line for us. We're living off a lot of people's prayers right now.
That's right.
But we got to make sure that we're being positive in our actions. But guess what? Peter was a fighter. Peter was a cusser. We already know that. But
watch out now.
we got to change our actions, because you know that 40-year trip that they had was only supposed to be 40 days, and ain't but 2 of them come out of there. That was Caleb and Aaron. So we got to know how to change with the times as far as our technical stuff, but we got to go back to the foundation. We got to knock off some of those raggedy people who are not doing anything to help our people but rob and steal, you know. And I'm telling you, if we don't do it right now, we're going to change. It's going to change the process of, we have to eliminate the foolishness, you know. And just like I'm going to try to make it to your conference over there at Istanbul, Doc, because I still want you to come over on my show. But we're going to talk about what we got to do is to be mindful and respectful of one another, and go back to the foundation and be truthful to one another.
I
you know,
appreciate
like
you,
you
Big
always say, expose them.
Yeah.
Expose them. Put them out there. Because guess what? If I did it, I was always taught, Ike, if you did it, yeah, I raised my hand. What you going? Well, you know, 1.5, do or die, fishing food. You can't beat me no way. Nah.
Thank you,
You
Big
know?
Ike.
All
I
right.
appreciate you.
All right, love y'all, man.
All right,
Be
take
good.
care.
Listen, John, don't go anywhere. We have to take a break. I absolutely want to take your call, and we'll do that on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM.
The
what
station
New Orleans is talking
And the
about.
station you listen to all day long.
All day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Much cooler and windier day ahead. Temperatures will be in the 40s and the 50s for the first half of the day. Mostly sunny skies with highs in the mid to upper 50s. Winds coming out of the northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, gust up to 30. Clear and cold tonight with lows in the 30s and 40s. Another sunny and cool day for Thursday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month, a service of the community scientist and Rise St. James. This month, we're focusing on lead, a heavy metal that's dense, soft, and poses serious health risks. In Cancer Alley, lead exposure from industrial emissions or contaminated soil can significantly increase cancer risks and other health problems. Stay informed and protect your health. For more information, visit risestjames.org.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Keep up with NOLA Public Schools through Education Elevation. Education Elevation will highlight the achievements, innovations, and contributions of scholars, educators, schools, and the district. Tune in every fourth Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. for engaging conversations and updates as we strengthen connections and support the needs of our scholars. Mark your calendars for every fourth Wednesday at 11:30 a.m.
This is your Saints Hall of Famer, Tyrone Hughes. Want to wish the whole WBOK audience happy holidays.
Hey, everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
caller on line 2. Hey, John, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Hey, good morning, Doc. And the other gentleman, how y'all this morning?
How you doing?
Something you brought up that's key. And, well, Doc, what you said, and I've been seeing that for the longest, and I'm glad more and more people are seeing it. They get people who look like us as a placeholder to push their agenda. Perfect example. What's his name? Brandon Johnson up there in Chicago. Them black folks ready to lynch him. Eric Adams. They ready to, well, he done turned tail on the Democratic Party now because they had him on some crap. What was her before Brandon Johnson? But Brandon Johnson was worse mayor in Chicago ever had. Lori Lightfoot. Then the first one that really started off on a big level was Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, it did more for every other group and component than we ever did. And see, the thing that's really curious about this, too, these school closings, particularly one of the schools they're trying to close, is the one that's the all-male school. And it's indicated that that school was actually doing very, very well. They were meeting the metrics and actually exceeding it. But it's like I've always said, they don't mind so much women, but they don't want viable men. We have to produce viable men in our societies because women adopt to environments at some point. Men overthrow environments. Just ask Assad over there in Syria. They done took Aleppo, now they're heading toward Damascus. You do not want viable men because viable men overturn societies, and they don't want that. So they want to keep our boys sagging and distracted and on drugs, claiming they got ADHD and all these other things. Because once you start producing generations of viable men, we'll go back to producing the cities that we once had, like Black Wall Street. And there were several other cities that were totally autonomous. I mean, Black Wall Street was doing so well. One of the main reasons they destroyed it because white landowners were actually borrowing from the blacks. And they didn't like the idea, we got to play these N-words back. They got a mortgage on my land. They got a mortgage on my farm. So they look for reasons to destroy that. But what they fear the most is viable black men, because men overthrow societies. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, John. We appreciate you. Listen.
I agree with everything John said, except that swipe against my president, President Obama. People don't understand the level of hatred that he had to deal with. And people discount what he did for healthcare and how that affects so many black people. From 40 million to 20 million, the number dropped in terms of the uninsured, and that was a whole lot of us. Mm-hmm. And it's the primary cause of bankruptcy also for black folk. Yeah. And so, that affected everybody, but it also affected a whole lot of us. I could go on, but I know time is limited now.
This has been an electric show. Like, we talked to Ben Riggs this morning from Real Reform Louisiana, talking to us about the insurance market here in our state and those tax regulations. He's promised to come back.
That's right.
When he visits, because we need an in-person conversation, especially closer to the session, right? I've had a wonderful co-host today. I couldn't have. And listen, when I saw you come through that door, I was excited. But this is a moment of transparency for me, right? Because what I want the listening audience of WBOK to understand is I'm teachable. Yes. Right? Uh-huh. And so I'm also learning how to do this. I'm not a radio host. I'm an educator with big opinions, right? And so sometimes, my opinion, like I can go there. And so I do apologize if I've ever cut anybody off, or even you. Yeah. Pastor, I would never do that because I'm trying to get to heaven.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm trying to get to heaven.
I love passionate, intelligent black women, and I
But I'm learning. I'm learning. Yeah. And I promise you, I take it all in, and and my goal is to always get better every day. So I'm going to take the feedback and I'm going to incorporate it tomorrow, because that's what good teaching and learning is.
There you go. All right.
Shout out to the WBOK listening audience. Miss Alicia Plummer, my auntie Linnell from way in Dallas. They were like, Ashanta. Yeah. So I said, okay. All right, I hear you. My bad. Ain't no smoke this way. I hear you. Yeah. But I'm learning, and that's when this idea of grace comes in, because we expect people to just be great at things. I'm learning. This is new to me, right? I share my opinions on my Facebook, where I ain't got to worry about nobody calling in and asking me nothing. I just say what I want to say.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Well, thank you.
Keep going. And I'm the same here. We all learning something. If you ain't learning, then something wrong with you.
You ain't growing.
That's right.
If you ain't learning, you ain't growing.
That's right.
But before we go, I wanted to briefly talk to you about, do you recall the story where the man jumped across the judge's desk in Nevada?
Yeah.
And he started like attacking her.
I remember
Well,
that.
they sentenced him to 26 years for that. And here's my thing. I believe in accountability all across the board. I still would like to. I don't even know what he was in court for the first time.
That's right.
To make him even want to jump, because your little engine must not be firing on all cylinders if you go jump across the desk of a judge.
Yes.
So I just think about how mental health is always weaponized against Black folk, but it's used to excuse a lot of the behaviors of other people. Right?
Yes.
Poor people are always demonized when really and truly healthcare,
that's right,
mental health, just like the subway. He was asphyxiated, but now they're saying he had mental health issues.
That's right.
And he died because somebody thought he was a threat.
That's right.
Right. And so we just have to really pay attention to and make certain that equity comes in every layer of government and every layer of policy making. Because did he deserve to be penalized for attacking that judge? Absolutely, he did. And again, I don't know what he was in court for first.
Yeah.
That madam joined in on that.
Well,
that
I hope the 26 years wasn't more than what he was going to get initially.
It probably was.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, he might not be hopping across anybody's desk anytime soon.
Right.
He has 26 entire years
to
think about how to keep his feet planted on solid ground, huh, Pastor?
Yes, ma'am.
But this show has been dynamic. I've appreciated you being here. Come back.
And WBOK family, love you. I have a great holiday season and a holy day.
Just like a pastor.
That's right. And I'll see you soon.
Listen, let me invite you to the front porch up next with Graylin and Kemba. And I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, WBOK 12:30 a.m. what New Orleans is always talking about.